So after the colossal disaster that was Dying Light 2, a game that divided the fans by doing a lot right, but also forsaking a lot of what made the first game work so well, Techland had to find a way to win fans back and restore the things that made the first game as successful as it was, while also taking the best parts of 2, which led us to Dying Light the Beast. So, was this game successful at delivering the best parts of both games? Yes and no. Now, the first thing I want to mention when it comes to this game is the atmosphere. And if there is one thing this game does masterfully, it's the atmosphere. This game went back to that less colorful, gritty look of the first game, and it really works well when it comes to delivering a vibe that resembles the infection itself. It's dead, yet somehow also alive, just like the infected. And I really like that about this game in the first, how it unites both the infection and the world that they take place in. The infection is a virus. It doesn't just infect the people living in it, it also infects the world itself. In fact, that theme is taken even further in this game, with the virus also literally infecting a tree. Hell, there's a side quest in this game that I'm going to talk about later where the virus literally talks to you. And nighttime is also back to being completely dark. You can't see anything at night without a flashlight. It scared the shit out of me. And it makes volatiles incredibly intimidating. When you're in a chase, you are scrambling to find a safe house. It is super intense again. You don't want to fight them. You want to run for your life. Speaking of fighting them, I want to talk about combat. And this game has the best combat in the series in my opinion. The attacks are weighty and it really feels like you are hacking the shit out of zombies. And it's really carried by the new beast mode. It's pretty simple. You fill up this bar and fuck up everything in sight. You even got these absolute monstrous glory kills that are completely badass. And nowhere is the combat better than in this game's boss fights. There's this really big emphasis on dodge timing in this game, and it made every boss fight really fun and they all stand out. You gotta learn their moves and how to dodge accordingly. This game easily has the best boss fights out of all 3 games. However, while this game does a lot of these things right, it also messes up a lot as well, with its biggest flaw being the progression. I'm serious, this game has the weakest progression out of all 3 of the games. The resource economy is kind of laughable. Everything is kind of hard to find, and while I think making a resource like scraps harder to find is a good idea, a common resource like rags should not be so incredibly hard to find, and the end game does not fix this problem at all. And some progression systems I really do like. For example, the crafting overhaul, which requires you to upgrade any blueprint you have for literally anything in order to progress. Making crafting this important, I think, is a good change. It's another main way of progressing your character's damage output, and I really appreciate it. It's really the only progression system that actually feels significant in this game. And I mean it, because outside of weapon damage, there's not really much here, and it's kind of sad. Like, look at the skill tree. It's kind of fucking pathetic. Like, none of these skills besides the beast skill tree is really that impactful. The only 2 survivor skills that actually felt like they mattered was the weapon durability one and the one that allows you to sprint using stamina. Those are the only 2 survivor skills that actually feel like they matter. The skill tree is a core part of Dying Light more than probably anything else because progression in these games is the main draw. Hunting and getting stronger to conquer the dead, and even the night to some degree, is the second most important thing in a Dying Light game. I mean, there's not even any way to increase your health, your stamina bar, or even your beast bar. Like, those are easy wins when it comes to bloating your skill tree, but Techland didn't put enough content in this game to really justify doing something like that. Basically, what happened with Dying Light the Beast is that this game was originally going to be DLC for Dying Light 2. They instead decided to repurpose the DLC into its own game. This is also why the game is free for those who bought the deluxe edition of Dying Light 2. And I'm not going to lie, this game really just feels like DLC instead of an entire game. And that's my main problem with this game, is it really just feels like a DLC. And this skill tree and other things I'm going to discuss in this video prove my point perfectly on that. By the end of the game, I really didn't feel much stronger than when I first started. I mean, this is why the rewards for going in these strongholds are so ass. I went in them for materials occasionally, but that was really it. I didn't feel incentivized to actually raid these buildings. And it's not like I missed something by the end of my playthrough. I kinda explored everything, even though it feels like I still missed something. I just ended up feeling like there should be more to do, and maybe I just missed what it was. But I'm serious, I did not miss anything. I've done almost every side quest in the game, and I've explored pretty much every part of the map, and I still feel like I didn't complete this game. And it makes me sad sad that the only meaningful progression system in this game is just in the workbench. Like, yeah, that should be a big part of it, but the skill tree, in my opinion, is more important than that. Like, there's only one skill for driving. Why? You want to talk about missed opportunities? The driving in this game is the biggest one. Why isn't there a garage you can acquire and give your vehicle whatever upgrades you want? Why doesn't this thing have a skill tree? I'm serious, the driving in this game is so fucking boring, and I never felt the need to really interact with it. The moment I got the sprint skill, I just said fuck it and never really touched a truck again. And for the rest of my playthrough, I literally just ran all over the entire map. Like, that's how insignificant driving in this game really is. It really just was thrown in here as some bottom feeder, last resort mechanic with no real depth given to it. Like, I just don't understand why it's here at all if you're gonna do nothing with it. Even the beast mode feels like it's lacking. Like, it just feels like there's supposed to be more with beast mode, and it's literally the most impactful thing on the entire skill tree, and somehow it still feels lacking. And I think that's probably the biggest sin of this entire game. So while yes, it's fantastic that nighttime is an actual threat again, they fumbled on the most important part of what makes Dying Light, Dying Light. Like, what's actually more important here? Nighttime being scary or meaningful progression in a fucking survival game? Like, the priority here should be obvious. And this also means that you really can't survive at night. Like, the volatiles in the endgame still take like 15 hits just to kill. Every time I had to fight a volatile, I always ended up having to use beast mode, and it's atrocious. Now, instead of nighttime being incredibly difficult in the early game, but much easier in the late game, instead it's just a fucking struggle to the point where I literally always skip nights throughout my entire playthrough. And I'm serious, there really doesn't feel like there's an end game. It just feels like there's an early game and then just one really long mid game, and that's it. I just honestly hope and pray that Dying Light 3 has none of these progression problems, because seriously, it made Dying Light the Beast feel really aimless for me. Anyway, now that we're on the subject of boring, let's talk about some of my other big problems with this game, and it's the setting. Now, yes, the aesthetic is absolutely gorgeous, but there's really one or two town areas in the game. This means that parkour suffers immensely. There's really only one area where parkour is really fun and useful, and it's Old Town, and that's it. Add that onto the fact that there's not much progression when it comes to the parkour skill tree, and you get yourself the worst parkour in the series. Not that it's bad, but there's so many factors that play into the quality of the parkour. It's not just the physics, but it's where you're using it, and it's how you feel while doing it, and it's the play space you're in. All of these things play into the parkour feeling fun. However, in this game, only 20% of the map takes advantage of the parkour. There's not really any fun abilities you can unlock besides the grapple hook, and even then the level design of Old Town is kind of infuriating to traverse. Another thing that helps with the feeling of parkour is the music, and the music in this game is really lacking if I'm being honest. And they set the bar so fucking high in Dying Light 2. This game has the best parkour if I'm being honest. Dying Light is best when it's set in a big ass city or town, and the level design of these areas feel really fun to traverse. And god, the music is so fucking good when you're parkouring. Like, listen to what I'm playing in the background. Sometimes when I'm playing Dying Light 2, I actively just do nothing but parkour so I can keep listening to the music in the background. It is that good. They even had parkour challenges in Dying Light 2 for you to go find and get parkour levels from. If any game is an example of how to do parkour in Dying Light absolutely perfectly, it's Dying Light 2. I know people have complained about the parkour being a bit floaty, but they pretty much allow you to fix it, and the fix for it is on by default. I know there are some people who fucking despise Dying Light 2, especially over the bad launch, but they did significantly improve the game where they could, and I think it's important to acknowledge the things that Dying Light 2 did really well, even if you don't like it. But do you see what I mean when I say there's a clear difference in which game I'd rather play when it comes to parkour? And for fuck's sake, parkour is the second most important thing thing in a Dying Light game, and Dying Light the Beast didn't really get it right. There's not even many rock climbing areas in this game. Most of my playthrough is using the grapple hook or running in an open field. It's not really using the parkour elements in the game. And that's another thing that just makes this feel like a DLC rather than its own game, because a core aspect of this series is also really lacking with no satisfying way of progressing it. You can't even increase your stamina bar, like it's insane. So many things weave together in a Dying Light game to bolster each other, but this game only picks a few things to focus on and they half-ass the rest, leading to the overall quality of the game being weaker. You can't give me an ability like wall running at the start of the game and not design many areas where I actually have an incentive to use it. Hell, there's not even any trash bags in this game. Like, yeah, seriously, there's not any trash bags to land on in this game, and I have looked vigorously. Like, I know it sounds funny that a group of fucking trash bags could be so important, but somehow they are. Like, they couldn't even bother doing that. Instead, I have to break my legs trying to land on fucking cars. Like, it actually, for some reason, really gets on my nerves that there aren't trash bags. Like, that's such a simple thing to add that improves the parkour, but they didn't add it. Like, why, Techland? Why? Please add trash bags to Dying Light 3. If they're not there, I'm giving Dying Light 3 a 0 out of 10. And I'm seriously not kidding. I will do that over trash bags.
If you get to heaven, write this down. You get to heaven and you don't find me there, you have gone to hell. That's not heaven.
Now, I want to talk about one thing this game nails, and it's the side quests. And they are a massive improvement over Dying Light 2's. Holy shit. Some of the rewards for them aren't super enticing, and it felt more like I was required to do them in order to actually finish the main story without being underpowered. But it doesn't really matter to me when the game is forcing me to do something that's actually well designed and fun. Like, easily the best ones in the game are the Star Child side quests. To my knowledge, there are only 2, and they are both fucking sick. The first one revolves around gathering ingredients in order to enter your mind, which tells this really cool story of some of their people locking themselves in a basement so they can all die together peacefully. Really sad, but great storytelling there. And then you have to go to this tree, and this tree is really fucking cool. Essentially, it shows how the virus is evolving. It has literally infected this tree, and when you pull the bark out, it starts screaming and summoning zombies to you. It's really cool, and it sets up an interesting concept that I hope is explored in Dying Light 3. And both of these things lead up into this really sick dream sequence where Kyle literally has to fight his demons, reflecting on the guilt. You get to see how he blames himself for all the people who died in Haran. He feels like he failed them, and he takes that guilt and turns it into anger, and that's what pushes him forward. It's a really intelligently designed character study, and it honestly felt like a main story mission with how well this was designed. And God, the second mission is almost as good with how cool it is. So essentially, these cave people are basically fighting the infection, and it turned them into what they look like now. But it also gave them abilities, the main one being telepathy. However, this mission takes that and goes buck wild with it. Essentially, one guy started using his telepathy on the infected, trying to control them. However, the virus turned it on him. He talked about how the zombies were basically speaking to him. He could hear their thoughts, and it's pretty creepy. And essentially, the virus ended up controlling him. And when you go into this tunnel, you get to see this idea fully realized, where you actually get to talk to the virus. And I'm just gonna show you this so you can understand how cool it is.
What in the fuck are you?
Not what we are, what we can be with you.
Rick!
No, it's us.
How'd this happen?
He studied us, evaluated us, desired us, our power.
I tried to use my mind to control.
And he joined us.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I need to see this explored in Dying Light 3 because it really does mark a new direction for the series. Like, this mission evolves the virus into more of a parasite instead of just an infection. I think that's super interesting. There's other side quests to talk about, but I'm just going to say that there wasn't a single one I absolutely hated doing. And that's really impressive, so I'm going to say that in my opinion, I think Dying Light the Beast has the best side quests in the series. Not necessarily because of the rewards for doing them, but because of the stories that they tell within the universe. And I want to see Star Child come back in the next game. Please, Techland. And I think with that said, I want to finally talk about the story in this game. And I think all of us know that this franchise does not really have a good reputation when it comes to story. Dying Light 1 had a pretty mid story, and Dying Light 2 had an absolute poop-ass story.
You look at the infected like they're the disease. You fight them for the last ray of dying light.
And so it kind of surprises me to say that for once a Dying Light game had a pretty decent to good story. This isn't some like masterclass in storytelling, but it does things pretty right. I was honestly pretty worried about the reintroduction of Kyle Crane, but he is written pretty well. You can definitely tell he's been through some shit while still feeling like the same character from the first game.
Alright, any idea how I can find the medication storage room?
Yeah. Look for a sign that says medication storage.
Oh my god. Yeah, no shit.
Wow. Lydia wasn't kidding. You really are a genius.
Yep. Basically, after the events of Dying Light the following, Kyle was fighting the infection for basically a year until the GRE found him and sent him to the Baron. He got experimented on, and it basically turned Crane into a human volatile hybrid. He was being tortured essentially for 13 years, and once he broke out of the facility, his main goal is basically to ice the Baron. It's a pretty simple by-the-numbers revenge quest, not that that's a bad thing. I actually like that. But anyway, you meet this girl Olivia, who's another baddie in the Dying Light franchise. She essentially tells you that in order to beat the Baron, we need to defeat these things called chimeras and extract their blood to get stronger. Now, one quick thing I need to mention is that this game uses an external camera for the cutscenes instead of the usual first person that we see. I personally really like this change, and it allows for more dynamic and interesting ways of presenting the story. The only issue I have with this is that they position the camera in really weird spots sometimes, and Jesus Christ, the camera shake is so bad it really feels like this was shot by an arthritis patient. Like, what is the point of shaky cam? It just gets on my fucking nerves sometimes. Like, imagine if I shot all of my videos like this. This doesn't make my video more engaging. It just pisses you off and it's really distracting. So Techland, please tone that shit down next game because sometimes it really got on my nerves. Anyway, next we meet the townsfolk, kill a few more chimeras, and then are tasked with turning on the power. And this is where we get to talk about the dialogue. Most of it is either pretty expository or completely character driven, but sometimes the dialogue is just so fucking ridiculous it makes me laugh.
Move it! I wouldn't push me if I were you. You don't want to piss me off. Move! You're gonna see a really ugly side of me.
Anyway, the girl with the lesbian side part obviously betrays us in the next mission where we find out the Baron is primarily hunting the Beast. Ironically, this game isn't titled after Crane, it's titled after another character that is revealed later. Anyway, fast forward a bit, and we gain the trust of the leader of the hybrids, Lydia, where we then capture this scientist who gives her the power to fully control the undead. Here's to hoping Lydia doesn't end up like this guy. And Lydia is a pretty cool character. She plays a really strong supporting role that doesn't overshadow the people who are obviously more important than her. And after gaining this ability, she helps us tame the Beast. And we kick his ass, and then he finally awakes and reveals himself to be Aiden from Dying Light 2. And Jesus Christ, I gotta say that Aiden is yoked. I want whatever shit he's blasting in his ass because oh my god. And we all plan an attack on the Baron's base, then wake up at night to find that Aiden surrendered himself to the Baron to save Spike. Like a fucking moron. Anyway, we launch into the castle, launch the lamest assault I have ever seen, and then get knocked out after being betrayed by the baddie. Then we wake up to see the best cutscene in the entire game. Basically, the Baron's goal in this game was to evolve the infected and control them using a chemical weapon. Basically raising an undead army under his control. And I'm just gonna let you hear the rest from the Baron himself.
I invited you all here to help me celebrate. As you all played a part in bringing my life's work to completion. Crane here was one of the first human volatile hybrids ever captured. I spent years researching every aspect of his mutated DNA, but the final tests could only be conducted in the wild. So I allowed you to escape.
Bullshit.
You were growing weaker and weaker, slipping away. You had lost your will to live. I needed to reignite your survival instinct. Otherwise, you would soon be dead. So I found the greatest motivation of all for you. Revenge.
Bullshit!
You were injecting yourself with GSB to defeat me. But in truth, you were just a lab rat performing my experiments for me.
Okay, so pretty cold, I'm not gonna lie. And then he starts icing people. He slits Spike's throat and then kills Lydia's boy toy. And then Olivia turns on the Baron after realizing she wants Crane's crane. She stabs Baron in the eye, frees everybody, and then the final boss fight commences. And this fight is really fucking good. You've got the first phase of just the normal ass weak ass Baron. Then after kicking his ass, he turns himself into the ultimate hybrid, and god, he looks so fucking sick. And this second phase is genuinely so good. It's the best boss fight in the series without a doubt. It literally feels like a Dark Souls fight. It was so good. But anyway, then Crane drop kicks his ass, and then he finally fucking ices him.
I told you I'd kill you!
He then makes his way back up with Aiden and Lydia, where it's revealed that the GRE chick from the first game is still alive, and that the GRE is still here just in the shadows. Then they fly away, and that's the end of the game. So overall, not a revolutionary story, but I will say it's definitely the best in the entirety of the series. So overall, I gotta say, while yes, this game does certain things incredibly well, like the side quests, combat, the nighttime, the atmosphere, and the story, it also severely underdelivers on the most important things in a dying light game, like the parkour, level design, progression, music, and late game content. So while yes, I think this game is a good game, I think it's the worst game in the series. I think some of the problems like the late game content can get better over time, or even some of the level design can be fixed. But when it comes to some of the other problems like the progression, they're just going to have to try better next time. This game still feels more like a DLC instead of an actual full release. At least that's how it feels to me, but that's it. If you liked this video and want to see more from me, make sure to sub and leave a comment down below on what other games you'd be interested in me covering. But anyway, bye.